let's dive right in,
Let's do it.
So, Jimmy, I know you've seen the reports that's been going around. It started really last week, but I think it's more appropriate to talk about today. Russell Wilson isn't happy. He's had beef with the Seattle Seahawks over the last few weeks. He was on the Dan Patrick show talking about kind of how he wishes he would get, a little bit more opinions, I guess you could say. They would actually consult him more about things and changes. And then a big expose came out on The Athletic talking about how Russ isn't happy. He made some suggestions. They ignored him. He stormed out because he's basically ignored with his suggestions. And there's a lot more to that. I'm not going to really dive too deep into that portion of it. But it begs the question of what I mentioned on our last episode of how the quarterback position today has taken the power that it truly has and has become more like the NBA superstars. They're leveraging who they are. They're leveraging the fact that they're making hundreds of millions of dollars and that they are the face of the franchise. And someone mentioned this on the Twitterverse. I thought this was great, that quarterbacks are considered management without management duties. You know what I'm saying? They're expected to act like management and be like management, but they don't get management pay and they don't get management clout outside of the locker room, that is. Well, depending on where you're at. And in Russell Wilson's case, he's not getting any type of respect within the front office of Seattle. Like, they're not listening to him, but at the same time, they felt like they made a point to go and do what Russ wants. Like, for example, the let Russ cook movement and let him go out there and throw the ball a whole bunch. And then when it started to see a decline after a bunch of success in the beginning of the season, Pete Carroll kind of threw out a statement of, okay, see, we let you do it now. It didn't work. We're moving back to our original plan of running the ball first to set up a pass. So now we're at the point of Russell Wilson not being happy. He hasn't formally requested a trade, but he did name out 4 teams he's open to be traded to: the Cowboys, Saints, the Bears, and the Raiders. Jimmy, it's time to talk about this. It's DangeRUSS out of Seattle.
Well, I will echo several of the sentiments that I mentioned on my solo when I discussed this, that and you're pressing me for a straight answer as far as is he going to suit up for Seattle ever again?
Yes.
Okay.
We need to go ahead and direct. I know on your solo you talked through a lot of it. Let's go with I need an answer. Gun to your head. Bang, bang. What is going to happen?
He's not leaving.
Wow.
The very thing that he should do, he's not going to do. Because I think that, and this is more so in terms of how he's going to look in the media, he would look like, in terms of what he would have to do to leave this team, he probably would end up making himself look somewhat like the villain. Or at least that's the way the Seattle management would make him look, that he's forcing us to do this, and we love him as our quarterback. We did not want to do this. He's forcing us to do this. So I think that because of the image that has been so well crafted, really since he was in college, I don't think that he is just going to sharply divert down this road and harm the image that he really and Sierra have crafted. They're trying to be an emerging power couple. Now, I talked about on my solo that, yes, he should want to be a Dallas Cowboy, and that's a big part of the reason why they're on his wish list of 4. But I don't think he's got the cojones to do what it would take in order to get him out of Seattle, to force his way out of Seattle. So therefore, I think that he's going to be there at least for one more season. And then we all know how that's going to turn out. They're not going to go deep into the playoffs. He's not going to get the power that he wants. He will have those let Russ cook moments, only to be followed by Pete Carroll shutting down the kitchen, and then we're going to be right back here next season, which is the reason why he should leave now if this is how he truly feels. But he's not going to do that because he doesn't want to be the bad guy.
So your sentiment, your thoughts behind this is that he's going to stay because he doesn't want to be the bad guy, not
he doesn't want to look like he doesn't mind being the bad guy. Yes, he doesn't want to look like the bad guy.
Okay, so he doesn't mind being the bad guy in behind the curtain. Mm-hmm. He doesn't want to be out there looking like he's the bad guy wanting to be traded. Hence why, and I agree with you on that. I agree with you on that. I agree with you a lot of your takes when it came to him going to Dallas on your solo. I think that's the place he needs to end up. Now, do I think there's a better place for him to go? New Orleans. But I think Dallas is probably the most realistic right now because they can go ahead and sign Dak, do a trade, and make that they have the best leverage to move someone in his place in Seattle. And to be honest, I think Dak Prescott would do really well with Seattle, especially if they focus on the offensive line like they're supposed to.
Mm-hmm. And plus, Dak, he doesn't necessarily want to cook. He doesn't want to have to throw 40 times.
No, he doesn't. He never wants to throw 40 times in the game. He wants to be in the way it appears. He likes to stay within the 24 to at most 30 range. He's most comfortable in there. Kind of like, honestly, Jameis Winston. That was the one thing I saw with him, is that he was best when he was under 34 throws a game. It seemed like he was more alert. He threw better passes, and he wasn't as desperate whenever he throws over 35. And so if Seattle can make it to where their run game, I mean, the biggest problem they've always had was health. You don't have a workhorse running back. I mean, I love Carson a lot. He ain't a workhorse, as we've seen him not be able to stay in and out, and they've not been able to replace that portion of it. So the question is going to be, is what can they put, who are they going to put in their backfield to make it to where they can't be a run-first offense outside of Marshawn Lynch?
See, and I don't know to what degree. I think it's the NBA where the money has to match or be close in order to execute a trade. Is that right? Or is it the NFL?
It's both. Okay, actually, both in a way.
Okay, so
the problem with the NFL is that there's like they got a lot of dead cap money that hits if a team does get rid of someone before their contract is up or the guaranteed portion of it is up.
Right. Okay, so to address that run game concern, do you think that Seattle will be interested in a sign and trade if they just straight up will be interested in trading Russell Wilson for Dak Prescott and Zeke Elliott, or Zeke Elliott and another player? Or would Zeke have to be a part of this deal, or should he be a part of this deal if they do make this trade with Dallas?
Financially, that wouldn't work, because Russell Wilson, I think based upon the way that his contract is set up, he's going to have a pretty favorable contract over the next few years. I think he's in the 30-something range. Oh, no, actually, I think he's in the late 20s. I don't think he's
that low.
I don't think he's in the 30. I mean, Dak wants 30. Well, he's going to get 31 now, which
37 to 38.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think Russell Wilson is up there in that number. I got to verify that number again. But his contract right now is favorable.
I mean, should Dallas want to move Zeke Elliott? Because, and I didn't want to believe this because I like Zeke Elliott, and we saw this last season to where even though not this past season but the season before that, he had really good numbers, but something was just missing from the Zeke Elliott before that. The Zeke Elliott before Cabo, before the contract issue.
Right.
That he got resolved in his favor. And then last season, obviously, we saw how without Dak Prescott, with an injured offensive line, he just looked like another guy.
Right. And I think that's with any running back, though. That those circumstances, you're not going to find a running back that's going to really be able to – you're not going to find a running back that's going to be able to truly dominate as at that position when your quarterback is, quote-unquote, inept. And your line is 3/4 of the way down, and you have nothing but young people. That's always been the issue I've pointed out about the NFL today within their negotiations with the CBA cutting back on practices, is that hurt offensive line play. Typically, offensive line play is bad for the first 4 weeks because they're trying to build that chemistry. That position is so unique that it's all about understanding the movements of the guys next to you without fully communicating with the guys next to you during the game. You can't really scream out, hey, come double team, without a player saying, oh, they're going to double team me. Let me go ahead and stunt this direction or go that direction to get away from it. You got to know how each other's going to move and be prepared to make those turns for blocks and stuff just to give a millisecond to your quarterback to get a throw off. That's the thing that hurt Dallas the most, is their line was awful with those injuries because they just weren't prepared to play together. And so for Zeke, that's kind of where I give him a little bit of leeway.
Okay.
Because they didn't have no quarterback either to make teams think twice about stacking the box.
So then that'd be good for Dallas, because then they could give these reasons as to why Zeke Elliott wasn't the Zeke Elliott, why he was Ezekiel Elliott last season and not Zeke Elliott.
Yeah, I can see
in
that.
order to entice Seattle to include him as part of the deal, because they probably want to get out from under that contract, that overpaid contract that he has.
Yeah.
And honestly, and I know we've seen this before, where you see a backup running back and they have flashes of looking like they could be a starter, then you put him in a starter's role, and then they're not even half of what the starter was. So you think this about Tony Pollard, because he has flashes where he looks like he could be a really good running back. I know he's undersized, but if Dallas had Russell Wilson, if you had a healthy offensive line, Tony Pollard, and your receiving core, wouldn't they prefer that over having Dak and Zeke on that team?
I can see that. The problem with Tony Pollard is I feel like he's more of a change of pace back. And like you said, I don't think he's a feature back. I don't think he's there yet. I think he can get there, maybe. I don't feel like he's there. So that's going to be where you're going to have an issue with him because he does a great job of catching out of the backfield as well. So having him as a third down back or even a change of pace guy where it confuses the defense, I think him catching out the backfield will take away. Well, him being a feature back will take away from him catching out the backfield. Let me put that together properly. So I like Russell Wilson going to Dallas if they keep Zeke. I don't like him going to Dallas without Zeke. He's not.
So then it would just be Dak. What about Amari? We'll give you Dak and Amari and maybe a pick, third-round pick for Russell Wilson. Would they go for that?
I mean, they got Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf.
So then imagine having Amari Cooper with that mix.
See, the problem is money. The money doesn't line up financially. Like, the cap hit.
It does because you're not paying DK Metcalf anything right now.
Well,
I don't know what Lockett's contract is.
Well, I'm talking about. See, Russell Wilson right now is at $32 million right now.
Okay, manageable.
And Dak will be higher than that because of how late in the game, as far as his contract's going to come in, and then you throw Zeke's or even Amari Cooper's on top of that, the numbers won't add up. And I don't know how much cap space either one of these teams have right now. So financially, it wouldn't work. Okay, you would have to do a like for like and then draft picks. But to be honest, if I'm Dallas, I wouldn't trade for Russell Wilson and I wouldn't send Dak Prescott up for Russell Wilson and send a draft pick with him.
Russ has to leave. Let me tell you why he has to leave. And I was just thinking about this. What he's wanting, the kind of power and control he's wanting, they're not going to give to him. They can't give to him because they obviously prefer Pete Carroll over him. And they think that Pete Carroll has had more to do with their success than him. Even the championship, they give that to the Legion of Boom. They do not give that to Russell Wilson.
Correct.
So I think that if you strip some of the power of Pete Carroll and alienate him in order to give it to Russell Wilson, who they would think, well, he was a third-round pick for a reason, then that's like cutting off your nose to spite your face.
Right.
That's still going to damage you in the end. And wanting this type of power and influence, not only, because where does it stop? It's not just offense. It's not just personnel around me, but ultimately it's going to be if you make any front office moves, I want that as well. So they got to be thinking, okay, he's going to want this, then why not that if you gave me this? And only quarterbacks who have actually won really have anywhere near this kind of influence. For one, Brady had to leave in order to get more influence over the offense. Patrick Mahomes had just won a championship when they were asking him about who do you like in the draft.
So here's the problem. This is the reason why Russell Wilson will not work in Dallas, because he will not get that influence that he thinks he won't get that in Dallas, period.
There's one way he could. If somehow Jerry Jones was convinced that this is my best chance to win a championship before I leave this earth, give him more power.
You just said Jerry Jones giving up something.
Yeah. But to get what? But to get what?
You just said Jerry Jones giving up something.
To get a championship.
We've said that Jerry Jones needs to give up the general manager position for years to win another championships. And guess what Jerry Jones has done?
Right. Yeah.
Not giving up the general manager position. He's not.
Not even for Russell Wilson.
No.
I don't believe that. I think that for Russell Wilson, I think he would do that. I think he would give away some of that power if it meant I'm hoisting up the trophy next year.
He doesn't care about winning championships. He cares about the Cowboys being in the news.
Even better.
That's not even better.
He gets everything. He gets news. He gets branding. The valuation is going to go up with Russell Wilson, and you potentially get a championship. He gets everything.
His valuation's not going to move from where it's at right now.
So the Cowboys are going to be worth less next year with Russell Wilson.
Not less, exactly the same with Dak or him.
You're either sinking or you're swimming.
No.
So
it's exactly
with
same.
Russell Wilson,
the Dallas Cowboys is a brand. They don't care who's wearing the star. Yes. That's how it works.
But that brand takes on a whole new meaning. I cannot believe you're not buying this.
Nope.
I cannot believe you don't think that he's perfect for now. He and Sierra.
He talks too much. He's way too opinionated. And I'm waiting for the day that everyone blames this new Russell Wilson on Sierra. It's coming. Just remember that.
Hey, maybe.
Other thing to remember.
I didn't think about that.
Another thing.
I would think they blame Deshaun Watson more than Sierra.
No, they're going to blame Sierra because you always blame the woman behind the man. So